Am I the asshole for throwing a kid's jar of peanut butter into the river? Okay, I know this sounds bad, but let me explain. This wasn't just me being some irrational adult having a bad day. It was a moment where I felt like I had to act, and maybe I went too far. You tell me. I work in a building near a beautiful river trail, and I like to take short walks during my lunch break to clear my head. It's usually a peaceful time where I can just escape for a few minutes, breathe in some fresh air, and enjoy the quiet. But not today. So, I'm walking along the trail minding my own business, when I notice a mother and her little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, by the riverbank. There are a few Canadian geese waddling around them. You know the kind, those big, aggressive birds that poop everywhere and hiss at you like they own the place. I'm not a huge fan of geese, but that's not really the point here. As I get closer, I see something that immediately makes me do a double take. This kid is dipping small stones into a jar of peanut butter and feeding them to the geese. My brain couldn't process it at first. I was in shock. Who the hell thinks it's okay to feed birds rocks, let alone peanut butter covered rocks? This wasn't just weird, it was dangerous. I looked at the mother, expecting her to do what any normal parent would do. Stop her kid, explain that feeding peanut butter rocks to wildlife is incredibly harmful, and redirect him. But no, to my absolute dismay, she was just standing there, giggling. She found it funny. She was amused by the whole thing. I couldn't believe it. My shock quickly turned into anger. Here's this kid, who's too young to understand the harm he's causing, and instead of guiding him, his own mother is laughing like it's some kind of cute joke. I stood there for a second, stunned. Part of me was hoping she'd snap out of it, realize what was happening, and stop him. But she didn't. And the longer I stood there, the angrier I got. I could feel this overwhelming urge to do something. Anything. I was horrified, not just because of what the kid was doing, but because of what it represented. Was I watching the making of someone who, later in life, could hurt animals, or worse? Was this the kind of behavior that gets overlooked and turns into something darker down the road? I couldn't shake the thought. So in that moment, I made a choice. I strode over to the boy, grabbed the jar of peanut butter right out of his hands, and with a mix of frustration and disbelief, I hurled it into the river. Yes, I threw the whole jar of peanut butter into the water. I know it sounds extreme, but it was either the peanut butter or, I don't know, my sanity. The mother just stared at me, completely dumbfounded. She had this look on her face like she couldn't believe what I'd just done. I probably had the same look, but for a very different reason. I couldn't understand how someone could stand by and let their child do something so blatantly harmful and laugh about it. The kid, of course, started bawling immediately. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, still in disbelief, and then turned around and walked straight back to my building. I didn't trust myself to say anything to her because I was so angry and I knew it wouldn't come out right. Now let me be clear, I'm not some animal rights activist or a Canadian goose lover by any stretch of the imagination. Frankly, I find those birds to be mean, and they're practically a menace with how they poop all over the place. But in that moment, it wasn't about the geese. It was about stopping what felt like an obvious act of harm. I couldn't just stand there and watch it happen. It felt like I was watching a toddler version of someone who might grow up to hurt others if no one intervenes. But now, sitting here after the fact, I'm questioning myself. Did I overreact? Should I have handled it differently? Should I have just talked to the mother instead of tossing the jar into the river? Maybe I should have tried to explain why it was dangerous. Though judging by her giggling, I'm not sure how much of a difference that would have made. I mean, I get it. Kids do weird things, and sometimes parents are oblivious or too tired to care. But the whole situation really got under my skin. I thought I was doing the right thing in the heat of the moment, but now I'm wondering if I owe her an apology, or maybe not. So, am I the asshole for chucking a jar of peanut butter into the river to stop a kid from feeding peanut butter covered stones to geese? Or was I just trying to do the right thing and maybe got a little too carried away?